A rancher went out to hunt instead. He captured an Apache woman who changed his life forever. The sun had barely climbed over the red Arizona cliffs when 38-year-old rancher Luke Carver rode out with a rifle on his back and a heart full of anger. Something or someone had been stealing his cattle for weeks. And that morning, when he found another one missing, he snapped. He swore he'd hunt down whoever was responsible, but he had no idea he was riding straight toward the moment that would change everything, he thought. He knew about himself, his land, and the people he once called enemies, and the one he captured wasn't a thief, but someone whose courage would break his heart wide open. Before we continue this powerful story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to channel name Like, where every story reminds us that kindness still matters. Luke followed the faint hoofprints through the dusty canyon. Hours passed. The trail grew colder until he spotted movement near a rocky ridge. A young Apache woman, no more than 22, limped through the brush, clutching her side. She wasn't carrying stolen cattle. She wasn't carrying anything at all. Luke jumped off his horse, aimed his rifle, and shouted, "Stop right there." The woman froze, terrified but defiant, her dark eyes burning with pride even through pain. Then she collapsed. Luke approached cautiously, bracing for an ambush. But there was no one else. Just her, bleeding, exhausted, alone. She whispered one word before she fainted. "Help!" For a long moment, Luke stood there, torn between everything he'd been taught. Don't trust them. They're dangerous. They'll trick you. But something inside him shifted. This wasn't an enemy. This was a wounded human being asking for mercy. Against every instinct he'd lived by, Luke lifted her gently and laid her across his horse. He didn't even know why, only that leaving her there to die felt wrong in a way he couldn't explain. Back at his ranch, Luke cleaned her wound and bandaged her side. When she woke hours later, she looked at him not with fear, but with confusion. "You saved me," she said quietly. "My name's Luke," he replied. After a moment, she answered, "Taya." Taya explained what really happened. She wasn't a cattle thief. She was running from a rival tribe that had raided her camp, killing her brother and scattering her people. She had been wandering for 2 days with no food, no help, and no hope. Luke felt something twist inside him, a mix of guilt and sorrow. All this time he'd been hunting shadows, but the real enemy was the hate he'd been holding on to. Taya stayed at the ranch while she healed, and in those quiet days, Luke began noticing things he'd never seen before. She spoke to his horses softly and they calmed. She helped water his crops even though she could barely stand. She sang in her language while the sun set, filling the yard with a sound so ancient and gentle that Luke felt his own anger melting away. One evening, as the sky turned gold, she looked at him with a sadness he couldn't place. "You think I am a prisoner," she said, "but I am already free. Kindness sets people free." Luke didn't know how to respond. No one had ever spoken to him like that, not with fear, not with anger, but with truth. The twist came 3 days later. A group of armed Apache warriors appeared on the horizon, Taya's tribe, desperately searching for their missing member. Luke feared the worst. He expected accusations, retaliation, maybe even death. But when Taya stepped forward, she raised her hand and said something in Apache. The warriors lowered their weapons instantly. Then she turned to Luke and said words he'd never forget. "You captured me, but you also saved me. So today I speak for you." The warriors bowed their heads in respect to her, to him, to the unexpected bridge of humanity between them. Luke felt tears sting the back of his eyes. That day, Taya's people invited Luke to visit their camp whenever he wished. They offered friendship, something he once believed impossible. And before leaving, Taya placed her hand on Luke's chest and said, "You hunted for a thief, but you found your own heart instead." Luke watched her disappear over the ridge with her people, knowing his life would never be the same. He had gone out with anger. He returned with compassion, and for the first time in years, his land felt peaceful. In the end, Luke learned a truth that echoed louder than any rifle shot. Kindness doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And sometimes the people we fear the most are the ones who end up saving us.